Hey guys, it's Scott with Scotty B Cards, and in this video I want to look at the veterans in Major League Baseball and see where I would have ranked them as rookies. So every single new flagship release, whether it's Series 1, Series 2, or Update, I always release a video where I'm talking about the best rookies to target in that specific set. And I base it off of a couple different things, which I'll talk about in a moment, but overall I give them like an investability or a buyability score, and then I put them in order based off of that score, who is the best player to target. So I was thinking, if I can apply the current methodology that I'm using on these new sets to veterans, how would they rate? Would I have been right or wrong about those players and their specific and respective careers? So the things I'm actually looking for, I'm looking at a player's age because if they're younger, it gives them more probability of their cards to be more valuable as they age and they have a better chance making the Hall of Fame long term. I'm giving these players a scale of 1 to 10. Every once in a while there's an 11 and I'll explain why. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. So if they're 30 years old, for example, that's a 0. 29 is 1. 20 years old is 10. If they're debut at age 19, that is an 11. Their prospect rankings. If they're a top 10 prospect, they get 10 points. If they're in the 15 range, they get 9. In the 20s, they get 8. If they're a 90th overall prospect, they get 1 point. If they're not in the prospect rankings, 0 points. I look at their minor league stats and give them a 1 to 10 score for that. And I look at their major league stats and give them a 1 to 10 score for that. I think all of these numbers together really give you a good idea about how a player as they're making their debut, because you have the respective scouts' opinion on their prospect rankings, their age, which is important, their previous history in the minor leagues, and then if they've actually had a cup of tea in the big leagues, you can actually see that as well. So here are the 2021 and the 2022 rookie rankings I've done in the past. Right here is top series 1. You can see I had Joe Adell relatively high just because of his age, minor league stats, and his prospect rankings. He was a top 10 prospect. His major league stats were bad, and that's why he wasn't higher. And then we can go look at top series 2. Brian Hayes and Alex Kirilloff both had age on their side and prospect rankings. I look at update. You have Kelenic and Vaughn, who are really good. Some great pitchers, and Patino, Manoah, other great players like Jonathan India, Andres Jimenez, and so forth. And then for 2022 top series 1, you have one decent player with Wander Franco. And I was seeing Wander Franco's stats. You can see he's 9.125. That's significantly higher than everybody else on this list. And I said, that's the highest I've had of any player. And that's actually why I decided to do this. So let's just jump into the veteran list. I picked about 11 players and then I did all of these rookie rankings and then I ranked them against each other. So you're going to go from worst to best. So the first player is Paul Goldschmidt. His average was not that good. And if he would have been in 2011 Topps Update, he would have been middle of the pack. You can see over here, middle of the pack is kind of like a Brandon Marsh tier player. And the reason that was the case is he didn't have high prospect rankings. He was relatively young at age 23. His minor league stats were amazing if you go look. And his big league stats, they were average, maybe slightly above average, maybe 5 was too harsh. We can go look at his baseball reference page now, potential Hall of Famer if he can stay healthy, but he wasn't a prospect rankings, like he wasn't on them at all. If we go scroll down, we can see his minor league stats, 317 with a 1026 OPS. That's amazing. That's better than anybody we've done basically besides Wander on any of these lists so far, with 83 home runs. He had a lot of power, but he was a first baseman. That restricted him as well. And you can see he was middle of the pack, and that's probably wrong just because of the prospect rankings. Next up, we have Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer was a 6.25 score. Very average for a top prospect pitcher, which he was. Prospect rankings, he was like in the 60s. He was 23 years old. His minor league stats were also very good, which I can show in a second. And his major league stats, they were okay. He was 0-4, but he did have a low ERA. So let's go look at his page. Definite Hall of Famer in my eyes. 66th overall by Baseball America. And that's why he has the 4 points. And we scroll down, go look at his minor league stats. He has a 281 ERA with 9-5 record over 4 seasons. So yeah, he was a top prospect, first round draft pick. So he was a good player in the minor leagues. But if we go look at his major leagues in 2008, because he was in 2008 Topps Update, he had a 305 ERA, which is good, but he still was 0-4. He had 7 games started, just couldn't quite win. And back then, wins were more important than they are now. And so he probably had a lower ranking due to that for his major league stats. So that is Max Scherzer at number 10. At number 9, we have Nolan Arenado. And Nolan Arenado, he was only 22 when he debuted. And that's why he has so much counting stats already at age 30. He was in the 50th range for prospects. His minor league stats were okay. They really weren't that good. He was getting this praise because of his defense as well, which I wouldn't really have hit on that well because you can't tell that from his stat line from the minor leagues. But overall, his major league stats, they were also good relatively because of his average hitting, right around 100 OPS plus, I'm assuming. I can pull his baseball Baseball Reference up, and his elite defense. So let's pull up Nolan Arenado right now. So yeah, he was a 52nd overall 2013 Baseball America prospect list. Minor league stats, he had an 818 OPS with a 300 batting average, 49 home runs in 6 seasons, so less than 10 home runs a season. He was okay. But if we go look at his actual Baseball Reference page for 2013, this was released in 2013 Topps Update. He had an 81 OPS plus. That's not great. Offensive WAR, he was still positive. Defensive WAR, 2.3 WAR. Total of 2.5 overall WAR. That would have given him above average. I gave him a 6, and I think that's very respectful. That's what I would have given. At number 8, we have Mookie Betts, and he was young. He debuted basically at age 21. He was a 60th-ish prospect. His minor league stats were good. They weren't amazing, but they were really good. I think this could have been an 8 because they're actually pretty solid. His major league stats, they were also good. They weren't anything amazing. You wouldn't guess he would become as valuable as he is. So his minor league stats, he's right here. He's the 62nd. I just gave the benefit of the doubt to the higher whatever ranking it is for this list. So I gave him 4 points there. But you can see his minor league stats. He had a 316 batting average with an 880 OPS with hardly any power, which is why I would have hurt him a little bit. But realistically, I gave him 7 points. He probably should have 7.5 or 8 just because he had really high batting average, really good OPS, actually really good OBP. And as power progresses, as he ages, that slugging will go up just like it has for his career. And if we look at 2014, we can go see how he did in the big leagues. 812 OPS, 291 batting average, 5 home runs, 18 RBI, plus defense. And that had around 3 WAR his first year. And that's why I would have given him pretty high scores. So far we're doing pretty well, but I think we would have had all these players not as a number 1 player on their list for that specific set, which is kind of harsh. You know, Jacob deGrom was in 2014 Topps Update and he would have scored higher than Mookie Betts. Let's go to number 7 with Shohei Ohtani. He was 23 when he came over, and you can see a big jump from 6.75 to an 8.25. Wander was the previous highest at 9.25. So now we're getting higher. There's not much to show with Ohtani. His minor league stats are actually Japanese league stats, and they were good. His major league stats were good his rookie year. His prospect rankings, he was the number 1 prospect overall heading into 2018, and his age, he was 23 years old. So not much to show on his Baseball Reference page. That's everything you need to know about Shohei Ohtani. Zack Greinke is at number 6. He actually beat Ohtani. Greinke was a very highly touted prospect for the Royals. He debuted at age 20, really young. His prospect rankings, he was a top 10 to 15 prospect. So that's where he got that 9 score. Minor league stats were very good. Major league stats, they were pretty good. So here's Zack Greinke's minor league stats. He was about 15th overall for prospect rankings. He got a 14 there. He had a 307 ERA with 24 wins, which this is over the course of his entire minor league. So we could even go look at his specific few first years. I think ERA is important. You know, when he was 19 at a 1.93 ERA with 15 wins. That's really good between 2 different levels. And then he debuted in 2004 right here. In 2004, he had a 3.97 ERA with 8 wins and 11 losses. He struck out quite a few, 100 strikeouts to only 26 walks. Pretty good pitcher. And that's why he got the ranking that he did. After him, we have at number 5, Mike Trout. Mike Trout's only number 5 because his major league stats when his rookie card came out were not that good. He didn't really play well till 2012 after his rookie card came out. So Mike Trout, top 10 prospect, he got 10 points there. He debuted at age 19. We can see that with the Angels here. So I gave him 11 points because he was actually younger than 20 years old. But when he debuted, he wasn't all that good. 220 batting average with a 672 OPS. Still had positive WAR because of his defense and base running. So I gave him a 5, about average, and I think that would have been fair for back then. But if you look at his minor league stats, that's where it's crazy. He had a 341 batting average with a 942 OPS, and that's really good. So overall, he is somebody we ranked really high, just below Wander Franco, but still too low in our modern eye. Next up, we have Ronald Acuna Jr. Acuna's minor league stats are the only thing that really weren't that great. He was a top 10 prospect. He was 20 years old. His major league stats were amazing when he was in the big leagues in 2018, heading into the 2018 Topps Update set. But if we look at his minor league stats, they were pretty good. 301 batting average with an 839 OPS. Like, it's good, but it's not that good. He had a lot of speed, 79 stolen bases, 30 home runs, struck out a ton, which would have made me give him the same score as I did with this 7 minor league stats. Pretty fair. But still, a 9 overall score is impressive due to age, prospect rankings, and major league stats. Then we have Tatis Jr. Similar story. Top prospect, 20 years old. His minor league stats were probably not that good either, but his major league stats when he was healthy before he got hurt were amazing. They were really good for a shortstop, and that's why I have such a high ranking. His minor league stats, he had an 847 OPS, 280 batting average, a ton, about 3 times more strikeouts than walks, which would have worried me because his on base is not that high. He kind of fixed that in the big leagues. If you look at the major leagues, his on base is a little bit higher, but his slugging has raised 100 points, so it kind of doesn't matter anymore. As he's become one of the best home run hitters in the league, he led the league in 2021 for the National League. Now we're at number 2. Number 2 is Bryce Harper. And Bryce Harper has the same score as Wander Franco because he debuted at age 19, top 10 prospect. prospect. His minor league stats were good. They weren't like Mike Trout's or anybody else, but they were good. And his major league stats, they were also good. So for that reason, Bryce Harper has a total of 9.125 for his average, which is the second highest on all my lists so far. At number 1, when this player came out, no one really anticipated how good he was going to be. That is Juan Soto. Look at these numbers. His minor league stats, I gave a 10. I've never given a 10 of minor league stats, but he was that good. He was so good. His prospect rankings, he was a 20 to 25 prospect, debuted at age 19, and his major league stats were amazing. Just behind Tatis, in my opinion, for a rookie year. So look at Juan Soto's baseball reference page. It's a thing of beauty. You know, I gave him 8 points here, but if we go look at his minor league stats, 362 average, 1043 OPS, 22 home runs in 122 games. So this is basically not even a full major league season, and those are the numbers he was putting up. His walk to strikeout ratio is what I liked about him as a prospect. He had the best plate discipline, and that's matured perfectly as he's gotten into the big leagues. So overall, that was the number 1 player out of these 11 I did. I can always do more players. We can do some more edgy players. We can do some Jay Bruce type things with Joey Votto. We can even do some Jacob deGroms. We can see if I would have rated these okay players well as well. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments below. If you aren't a subscriber, hit that subscribe button because we post 2 to 3 times each and every week exclusively about this content. And other than that, I'll see you in the next video.